This week, South Australia is cycle heaven, as many of the world's best riders tussle in the Tour Down Under in front of crowds of more than 100,000 spectators.
Last year I didn't think the crowd could get any better, but it certainly has once again.
The awareness and understanding of the sport by the general public is at an all-time high.
And while those at the front of this stellar field are concentrating on their tyres and their times, they owe a debt to a 40-year-old American who's well back in the field and racing in his last international event.
It's a magical atmosphere in the city of Adelaide this year.
As Lance Armstrong retires, he leaves as the biggest name in a global sport. A long way from the provincial European circuit he began competing in as a chunky teenager from Texas.
He was naturally confident. You could say bit of arrogance, especially in the early days. He had little knowledge of the European culture of cycling, and he didn't really know who the world champion was. He really didn't care because he knew he would be the next world champion.
If Armstrong had a big mouth, then he backed it up with an even bigger cardiovascular system. His enormous lung capacity powered him to the brink of cycling greatness.
We are looking at the fight here for the podium in Paris, the top 3 places.
His story's been told over and over, but still remains remarkable. Aged 25, he was diagnosed with testicular cancer that had clawed through his lungs and into his brain. That he beat the disease and returned to cycling was inspirational enough, but when he did, he won the gruelling Tour de France a record 7 times in a row.
He'd put his fist on the table and say, I'm going to win this Tour de France, or I'm going to win this World Championship. You guys come with me and we'll have a great ride.
The story was irresistible, and suddenly prime-time American audiences wanted to watch. Sponsorship poured in, and all riders earned more.
We revolutionized the way people train, we revolutionized the way they assemble teams, the way they build morale in the team, the way they preview the courses, the way they race.
But there are some who believe there are untold parts of the story. In a sport that's been rocked by doping scandals, Armstrong hasn't been immune from allegations. His defence is that he's never tested positive to a drug test.
And I'm not going to dance around the fact that there's been plenty of questions about that, but the reality is that we came with a whole new approach.
The latest allegations come from former teammate Floyd Landis, who was stripped of his 2006 Tour de France win for drug use. One man willing to back Armstrong is Patrick Jonker, who was in the Americans team and says he never saw the champion take anything.
It would be a good thing, I think, to have this investigation because once this is wrapped up, after this investigation is wrapped up, there will be no more doubts in Lance Armstrong's authenticity in his 7 Tour de France victories.
There's no doubt Lance Armstrong has inspired many middle-aged men and women to get back in the saddle, but he also believes he carries what he calls an obligation of the cured, that is, to help others facing cancer through his Livestrong Foundation. One is Ashley Moore, who beat neck cancer and founded a 280-strong cycling team as an offshoot of Cancer Voices, a group that advocates on behalf of cancer patients.
And what we're about as well is getting people involved in their treatment and care and decision making, and also once they've been through the health system and are well again, to then perhaps contribute back and share those experiences so that the health system can be improved.
And today we're on the top of the second story. There are 2 more stories to go. This is going to be an open plan centre, $28 million worth.
The Livestrong Foundation has lent its name to a new cancer research centre being built by the South Australian Government.
Many different ways that we will cure people, we will save lives. But it starts with buildings like this, it starts with events like this, it starts with people and passion like this.
After the speeches, Lance Armstrong and Ashley Moore shared a private memory.
It was some ride Sunday.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's because 2 days before this, the Cancer Voices team were on a run when they were joined by a new member.
I like your jersey, Lance.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
I like your bike too, very cool.
Just getting to know this group, and there's certain people come along that have a real impact on other people's lives, and I think Ashley's one of those people.
As they cycled, the toll started to tell on Ashley Moore. Late last year, cancer returned, this time to his lungs, and he needed a gentle hand from a friend to complete the ride.
There were about, how many, 100 of us you brought? You brought 100 of your friends from Cancer Voices SA. And the sprint into Glen Elg, Ashley absolutely schooled us.
Lance inspires people to fight the disease and do the best they can to survive. And he shows that no matter how bad those odds are, there's always hope, and you can turn those odds around.
As Lance Armstrong rides off from international cycling, there are some who believe his future is in triathlons or politics, but his legacy is the inspiration of his story and the aspiration to make a difference.
I think it would be a mistake for me to think back on the stuff that I did on the bike when I have things in front of me that are much bigger than that.